So this is a video about some common advice that managers get around delegating. And I think that common advice, although it's well intended, often leads to a mistake and a misunderstanding about what delegation is and what it's good for. In this video, I want to offer an alternative way of thinking about delegating that I think will get better results for you, for your team, and for the organisation as a whole. So the common advice that you typically get about delegating is that you should pass on your responsibilities and your accountabilities to a team member to free up your time. So the underlying reason that's implied is a productivity issue, that your time is scarce and that you're going to delegate to free up your time. And I think that's based on a mistake. It's based on a misunderstanding about what delegation is and what it's good for. I think if that's the way you think about delegating, you're going to start to feel a little icky and you're going to start to feel a little uncomfortable, because deep down you know you're only delegating in that way to solve your own productivity problems. In the long term, I think you're also going to damage the relationship with your team member. They're going to feel your delegations as a little illegitimate. They're going to feel it as an imposition. And I think those are really good ways to undermine psychological engagement and trust. And we know that engagement and trust are an important part in developing productivity in your organisation. It's also a really important part for retaining talented individuals. So I want to offer an alternative way of thinking about delegation that I think will offer much better results for you, for your team member, and for the organisation overall. The first thing I want to suggest about delegation is it's not merely telling people what to do. It's not even just about that deploying activity part. Delegation is an overall conversation, and really the aims of delegating is to align, organise and engage your team around the business priorities. It's not merely about saving yourself some time. The other thing I want to suggest about delegating is it's not a one-off interaction. It's an ongoing conversation that happens over time that has a number of features where you're going to discuss what the tasks are, how they need to be completed, and why they're important, and how they fit with the business context as a whole. When you think about delegating this way, you start to think about what different things fit together. So for example, if you were delegating to a new team member who needed a certain kind of development, your delegation becomes part of your succession planning and your talent management thinking. In another situation that's perhaps high risk, maybe more sensitive, or perhaps where you've got less time, you might pick a very strong member of your team who's a safe pair of hands. The kinds of priorities that you have there inform the kind of delegation that it is. Delegation is not a one-off interaction where you're telling people what to do. It also includes the follow-up. It's the whole conversation. The follow-up isn't a separate conversation, it's part of the whole piece. When you're delegating to that new team member to develop their experience, the follow-up becomes very important. The follow-up becomes part of their learning experience. So we might want to consolidate what happened, review successes, learning points. I might want to include a little bit of coaching, and that becomes some of the features of the overall delegation. In the other scenario where you didn't have an awful lot of time and maybe things were high risk, so you pick the strong member of your team, the follow-up might be a lighter touch. You might just say, let me know how you get on with that. And that might be just compliance, but you're also communicating to your team member how much you trust them, how much confidence that you've got in them. So that delegation becomes equally as engaging as the example that we had for the new team member. They're both types of engagement, but they take on different qualities, and you're trying to communicate different things in different situations. So my tip for today is to reconsider what you think delegation is and what you think it's good for. Is it only a way to free up your time because you've got productivity issues, or is it a way to align, engage, and organise your team around the business priorities? The take home for me is that it's a mistake to think of your delegation as a simple tactic to free up your time. I think if you're tempted to delegate in that way, it's probably a clue that you have productivity issues and time management issues, and that's a separate issue that needs to go get solved. Another way to think about this is that if you're truly aligning and engaging your team around the business priorities, then everyone aligns around their level of the business, and so everybody's doing what they are supposed to be doing. So you're less likely to be busy doing the wrong stuff anyway. This more holistic, strategic way of thinking about delegating will free up your time as a natural consequence, but it's not the main aim. It's not really why you're delegating in the first place. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about delegating. What things do you delegate and what things do you tend to do yourself? What are the different things that would inform your delegations? What do you think about this more strategic, holistic way of thinking about delegating? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. If you want to learn more about delegating, management, or leadership in general, whether that's through workshops or one-to-one coaching, you can follow me on most of the usual social channels, or you could head over to the Think Distinct website where there's all sorts of tips on thinking, learning, and leadership. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.